Hey guys, how's it going? Adam here from Easy Body Fitness, and today I'm just going to make a short video on how you can guarantee fat loss if you stick to these rules. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately from different people asking, how do I lose weight? Or, I've lost weight and I've plateaued. And although I've talked about this in my other videos, I felt like I wanted to make another video. I don't want to make it as long as I've addressed it before. I just want to make sure I get these key points across as well. The thing is, you need to be in a caloric deficit, right? In order for you to lose weight, you have to be in a caloric deficit, meaning you have to eat less than what you're eating now, which will allow you to lose weight. Or if you're eating the same, you have to do more exercise of weightlifting or cardio, mainly more cardio, because weightlifting, although it is good for losing weight, you do lose calories. It's not the most ideal. And I'm not saying not to lift weights before everybody gets pissy about it. I lift weights all the time. I enjoy it. But for losing weight, cardio obviously gives you more of an output. That's why it should be put into everybody's exercise routine, because it's good to break down more calories, okay? And it's also the best thing to really strengthen your heart as well. Cardio is better, but of course you want to weightlift to build lean tissue over time to really help regulate your metabolic rate. And obviously we know the more muscle you have, the more lean tissue you have, it uses more calories in order to keep the muscle on. So it in turn breaks down a bit more calories that way, right? Either way, you should be doing both of them, especially cardio, right? So you either need to eat less or you need to output more energy through exercise in order to lose the weight, or you do both. That is the way to lose weight and to drop the pounds off your body. Now the best way to do that is to monitor what you eat, right? I don't understand when I'm talking to people and I try and tell them this, that you should be monitoring what you eat. I'm not saying you have to count every single little calorie, okay? But you should be having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Try and eat around the same amount that you'd be eating around that time or around those for those meals, so that you can better regulate what's coming in your body, right? Not every single slice of toast, every piece of egg, every celery, every bacon, not anything of what you're eating is gonna have the same exact calorie take on it. So if you have like a pack of bacon, okay, all those slices are not gonna have exactly 50 calories in them. It doesn't work that way. So it's pretty much impossible, unless you're in like a lab setting, it's pretty much almost impossible to get the exact calorie amount, right? But we can always measure to what it can be, or the closest it can be, by monitoring how much food you're intaking. If you have one piece of toast and you have one egg and a glass of orange juice and that's your breakfast, have that every morning, or have another dish that's going to have roughly the same calorie output as that, right? You want to try and measure it and keep it roughly the same. I'm not saying every now and then you can branch off and have something else, or you can't have that extra meal in the day. You can, but you want to try and keep it consistent, as consistent as possible throughout the week, so you can better regulate your body and your metabolic rate, and you can better regulate how many calories are coming in, and you can get a rough idea of how many calories you're intaking, right? That's what I'm saying. So first and foremost thing, you need to do that in order to gauge even how many calories you should be reducing. If you ate the same structured, I'm not going to say foods, but let's say even if you eat the same foods and you eat the same foods around the same time, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, okay? Or it could be breakfast and dinner and snack in between. Whatever it is, everybody's metabolic rate's different. We're not all going to eat the same. But whatever you're doing, let's say you're eating that the same for a month, okay? Your body's going to start regulating itself because of how close and how often you're getting roughly the same amount of calories in your body. When you do that, you can say, okay, now I've been at roughly around this weight for the past so many months, so I have, this amount of pasta for dinner with a side of vegetables. Let's reduce the amount of pasta I have by this much and see what happens when I do that. When you do simple things like that, then you will start to see a little bit of weight loss. It'll happen slowly. It's not going to happen right away, because if you're only reducing 200 calories, 300 calories, throughout your total output, it's going to happen slowly over time, right? And that's what you want to keep doing, and you want to essentially keep trying to do that every week, week after week, and you'll see the results. Now again, I'm going to mention, provided on the weekend you have an extra meal, or sometimes during the week you're out with your work friends and you go have an extra a number of calories from another meal because you went to go eat out, or whatever the case may be. So if you do that, supplement those calories in another part of your day. basically try and subtract those from another meal, or increase the output of energy that you're going to be doing when you go work out. Try and balance it out. You're never going to do it 100%, but the key factor is that you're trying and you're doing the best that you can, because when you do that, you will see the results. And not only that, you will get a better understanding of how calories work, of how nutrition works, and how you actually have to regulate and consistently look after your nutrition, just like everything else in your life. Because if you don't, your weight's going to fluctuate all over the place and you're never going to get a hold on it, right? So that's the first and foremost thing on what I tell people. When I do my clients' meal plans, I obviously do the calculations as close as I can. I do the measurements, and they end up seeing results if they stick to it. They will see the results and they lose the weight. So the second thing is get better at knowing how many calories in each food. Again, I'm not going to say to count every single calorie, because I don't want you living like you're always going to be near the computer or looking up on your phone. But just try and understand how much food you're intaking, and then once you've essentially regulated that, go from there. Another thing is realistic cheat meals, right? So if you're doing that during the week, you're eating healthy, you're essentially watching your intake as much as you can. Don't go crazy when it comes to the weekend. Don't just start shoving a bunch of sugar and stuff down your throat and say, oh, well, I've done so well during the week. Now I can, have all this extra cookies and chips and all this extra calories on the weekend. It doesn't even need to be essentially junk food. You could be having too many calories in general, and that's going to offset what you did during the week, right? So if you're the type of person that likes to have more of a cheat meal on the weekend, like I do, of course you need to watch how many calories you're still going to intake, because if you don't, again, you're going to off-throw what you did during the week. I have a few clients where they like to do little bits and pieces of that during the week instead of having more of a bigger meal or a bigger cheat meal on the weekend, right? Then I have some that don't even do it at all. They just eat completely healthy, and all the power to them, because I don't even like to do that. I like to have my stuff on Saturday, right? I set a time for that. That works for me. So find something that works for you, but don't go off and don't go crazy and start eating all of this high calorie meal foods and just go off and offset all the hard work you did during the week, because then it's just going to put you back to the weight that you're originally trying to drop down from, and it's just not going to work. And the other thing, I'm sure you guys already know, exercise. If some of you are not doing cardio, I suggest that you start doing cardio. As I said, it has a higher output of calorie loss and expenditure than doing weights. You should be doing weights anyways. The more muscle you build over time and the more you put on your body, the more your muscles will use and break down calories in order to keep them, in order to sustain them, right? And it'll increase your metabolic rate a little bit more. It's not going to completely, make you thin and essentially allow you to be able to eat whatever you want, because that's really far-fetched as well. That's another misconception that people don't understand. Yes, it does help, but it's not going to completely save you from eating all the kinds of junk food in the world. It's just not going to do that. Take it from me, from somebody who went from 150 pounds 14 years later to about 190 pounds, right? Putting on mostly muscle and also putting on weight. It's not going to allow you to be able to eat whatever you want. Your caloric intake is higher, you can eat more. Yes, that's true, but you still can't just necessarily eat whatever you want. I can eat more calories now than when I did 10 years ago, because my caloric intake is higher because of the amount of muscle I've put on over time, right? And because my muscles need more calories in order to be sustained. But with that being said, you can't just eat everything in sight either. So make sure you work out and you lift weights. It's also good for other things such as fighting osteoporosis. It helps to regulate, like I said, your weight to a smaller degree. There's other health benefits that it's going to do for you as well. So weight lift, you need it. As I was saying, incorporate cardio. Try to do anywhere between 100 to 150 minutes a week, okay? I myself do around 90 minutes or so. I find that works best for me for what I want to be at. If I wanted to shred my body fat percentage down even more, I would do more cardio, because I essentially roughly eat the same calories during the week. I know that if I increase my cardio output, that I'm going to lose more weight. If I increase that cardio output, but then I increase my calories, even though it was healthier calories, okay, because regardless of what you eat, everything has a calorie output, but if I increase that, I'm going to stay roughly around the same weight, dependent on how many more calories I eat. So again, it matters on doing cardio. Sometimes all you have to do is increase it a little bit more and you'll start to see more weight loss. And how much exercise you do through weightlifting and through cardio in comparison to how many calories you eat is going to determine how much weight loss you have. So it essentially does come back to, again, your calories in versus your calories out. Now there are other things that at factor here. Now, this is for roughly most of the people out there, but if you're somebody with a certain health issue like type 1 diabetes and your insulin intake is all over the place, just eating foods isn't going to essentially help you, right? You still need to watch what you're eating, obviously, because you're diabetic and you need to regulate your insulin as best as possible. But if your insulin intake is not essentially where it needs to be at, you're not going to gain the proper weight either, because insulin is used to regulate food intake, right? So if you're type 1 diabetic, of course, there's a little bit more of a different factor there, but even still, somebody who's type 1 diabetic has to watch what they're eating regardless. Somebody who's type 2 diabetic especially has to watch what they're eating and how many calories they're intaking, okay? So it still comes back to what you put in your body and how many calories that is. So bottom line, again, just to basically end it off, you cannot fully measure every single calorie that you're going to be eating. You do the best possible when you look on the back of a nutrition label and you measure everything out, if you do that, or if you just try and portion out as best as possible, eat the same rough amount every time, okay? And try, if you're gonna switch out a certain food, try and get the same caloric intake for that food, right? Because just because you have the same rough plate distribution, it doesn't mean that the calories are going to be the same, okay? So try and measure it the best way you can, eat the same and be consistent with it every day and every week. Still have what you want to have when it comes to your cheat meals, just don't go overboard, and then output your cardio intake and also your weightlifting, and you'll see the weight starts to go down. And when you do, you regulate it from there. You say, okay, maybe I can take away more calories from this meal, or I'll increase my cardio intake on this day or add more on that day, and then you play with it and go from there. And the more muscle that you build from weightlifting, which will take you quite a bit of time, and if you're not even doing it properly, you're not even going to see the results you want. And that's another video that I actually talked about just specifically on that topic as well. But if you don't do that properly, it's going to take longer for you to put on the muscle. But regardless of that, you still want to weightlift and put on muscle because it's going to help regulate your caloric intake. You're going to have to eat more calories in order to sustain the muscle that you have, which will over time allow your caloric intake, your maintenance for your body, to go higher. So it's another way for you to be able to eat more and not necessarily put on that much more fat, because some of it is going to be used for your muscles. I hope this was clear, and I hope this answered a lot of people's questions. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to obviously DM me, and you can feel free to message below and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. If you liked what you saw and you understood what you saw, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought, especially comment down below if you have anything that you wanted to know or that wasn't too clear on, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And I'll see you guys in the next video.